We are here today to talk about the struggle of perimenopause and menopause because it is real. And one of the things that is one of the biggest struggles that we have both faced and we're talking about is not having space. We both have children. We know women out there. We're working, we're caretaking. Sometimes we're the sandwich generation where we're taking care of our children and our parents. And it just is hard. So we want to bring you some tools and some ways as Sarah and I come together to share our expertise around relationships and around health and spirituality to support this really challenging time.
Yeah, thanks, Shana. And this is super, near and dear to my heart because it's the phase I'm in, and I know the phase you're in. So we just felt like this would be very insightful and helpful for people who are struggling with not just the symptoms, but just what it's bringing up in their relationships, right? Because they intersect so intimately, your body and your intimate partner.
Yeah.
And as a wellness consultant and intuitive healer, I want to bring my viewpoints in experience and just what I've been reflected in my work. And you as well, Shana, is there anything you want to say about what you're bringing to this
Yeah,
awareness?
the relationship piece feels so important because I was just reading about divorce, like how many divorces happen during the perimenopause and menopause years where women just get fed up. And it's a cycle and it's so hard because if you're not happy in your relationship, that can cause more stress, more inflammation, more pain. And so we're looking at how do we address some of these symptoms in ways that I think a lot of the Western medicine isn't talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. I was actually just listening to someone in the health space talking about how one of her clients is a lawyer. And she said that she estimates about the divorce rate for women who are in perimenopause is like 60%. Like I mean, like the amount of women who go through this and then don't make it through their marriages. And it's just, it's sad on one level, but it's also like, okay, well, let's talk about this and see where can we take ownership of this
Yeah.
process that our body's going through and not make it wrong, not make it bad as in our body is betraying us, but it's giving us feedback and awareness to where we need to look at ourselves more closely and make some simple or radical changes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, some relationships were chosen when we were very young. And I've been through a divorce,
Mhm.
and I will say I now know myself so much better than I did before. And so I'm not saying that every relationship has to last,
Mhm.
but if we don't know how to communicate and if we don't know how to take what you talk about, which is listening to our bodies and understanding what's going on deeper levels, and we don't know how to take that back to our partner and ask for what we need and want, it just feels like it feels hopeless to me. And I can understand why women would feel so hopeless and so enraged and so frustrated. A, because like you said, it feels like our body's betraying us, and B, because it feels like our relationships are betraying us. And so, yeah, we want to talk about how do we actually stay connected to ourselves, find more of our truth, and find spaciousness when there isn't a lot in the the clock or the calendar, right, that we're looking at.
Yeah, that's such a, I think, a real issue that we probably all are facing in some level with whatever your life looks like, that it feels like there's less and less of that spaciousness unless we become super intentional about how we're creating our life. That can just keep getting eaten away, right? It just keeps getting folded onto itself. And so I think before we even talk about like what to do with symptoms you're having or your relationship issues, like let's talk about what it means to even just find the pause or the spaciousness, the pause in the pause, right?
A pause
And
in the meno.
yeah, what is that really about so that you can get clarity? Because there is a very necessary, like you were talking about, when life is just happening and you are wanting, your intention is to have more spaciousness, but you can't really put that pause button on what's going on with your kids' life at school, or what you have going on with your house repairs, or
Or
like, what
medical
I mean?
needs or any of those
Yeah.
things.
Yeah, and just like taking care of grocery shopping, right? Like there's just things that have to get done, and it
Yeah.
can feel never ending. And what I want to bring to this is that we have to stop. Well, I don't say we have to stop, but we will benefit by not putting a time frame on what spaciousness looks like,
Mm.
and instead seeing it as a practice of an experience. Because I will reflect that I have very little excess time to myself,
Yeah.
without, like, if I do have time to myself, I'm working, taking care of
Your
home,
daughter or your
or
relationship or your
yeah,
home. Yes.
yeah, things of that. And then what I want to say is that there's this timelessness that we can access
Yes.
when we have the right awareness of what that feels like. It's a feeling state to
Yeah.
be in it.
Can you
And
tell
it
us a
may,
little bit more about like how do you access that? I know I have my ways, but I'll be honest and humble and say I think you're doing a better job of it right now. At least today, as we were talking, I was like, wow, I need more practice. So yeah, what do you do to access the timelessness within the time bound state?
yeah, it's always ever changing, and uh, more awareness to, when I weave in and out of it. But the times where it feels most relaxed, peaceful, spaciousness, even when there's just chaos all around. And I mean, literally nothing is the way I would like to put a bow on it and say, this is how I want my life to look. And it doesn't. I find that it begins with hearing my own breath,
Mm.
connecting to like that physical sensation of my body is just right here in this moment, and to
Yes.
become an observer, like to not have to identify anything as good or bad. I know this is a practice. I'm not saying it's just immediately you feel this way, but it's to even state that I'm going to go about this moment without making it good, bad, right, wrong.
Yep.
Just observe it. It's how I start to get out of my head. I actually have so fewer thoughts these days than I ever did. I don't feel like my thoughts are running the show at all
Mm.
anymore.
Amazing.
But I do have to still be very conscious and practicing of the breath,
Yeah.
because the breath is going to change all your chemistry in an instant. So if you have the tools of observation and controlling your breath pattern
Yeah.
with, there's many different techniques, tools, right? You can, I'm sure you have some, and you
Yeah.
can look them up, but even just breathing in, holding it for a few moments, and breathing out longer than you breathed in. If you have that framework of breathing,
Mm.
you will experience a shift.
And you can do it right now, even as you're listening, right? Like that
Exactly.
can be for the rest of the couple minutes that you're watching this. The practice can be slowing your breathing down, exhaling for longer than you've inhaled. Maybe you find that it helps to breathe into your lower belly or your back, right? Somewhere that actually feels grounding and that slows you down and gives you access to the timelessness.
And then add the gratefulness that you had that one breath to do. You had that moment. And even if there's yelling, your kids are fighting over something, or, your neighbor's blasting music, whatever's going on that's not in your control, to come back to what is yours to control. And it's only your mind. It's only your perception of what's going on around you.
Yes.
And that is like, that's your biggest power.
Yeah.
And so if it's acknowledging that you have these little micro moments of, I carve them out when I wash my hands, when I'm in the
Mm.
bathroom, when I'm at a stoplight. Like, though,
Yes.
if you can remember to just center and breathe in all those little micro stops while you're in line at the grocery store.
When you pick up your tea or when you open a door, right? Like those little moments
Yes, you retrain
expand.
yourself. Like for me, I do this, I'd say probably 80% of the time, not always, not perfect, But as I'm finding myself wake up in the morning, I immediately start going, what can I be grateful for? And I'll just
Mm,
grateful for the smell of the rain, that I have this soft bed, that my husband's laying next to me, my daughter's still asleep. Like I'm grateful for my body. Like I'll just run through, because what
yeah.
that's doing is it's shifting your chemistry. It's not just shifting
Yeah.
the chatter in your head, it's also literally shifting how your
Yeah.
cells are communicating. So,
I love that. I was just thinking, I actually got fake tattoos, and I put one on one hand that says gratitude and one on one hand that says trust. And that's like one of my ways also to just keep remembering, okay, what am I grateful for? And how can I trust this moment more? Like you said, beyond the right and wrong or beyond the good or bad, there's a way of looking at life as someone described it. I love this, like just different flavors of ice cream. Like one day is orange, or 1 minute is orange sherbet, and another is rocky road, and another, right? That's like some moments are deeper and darker, and some moments are brighter and zestier. And if we're not resisting or trying to get them some other way, it's actually such a powerful reframe that we can find that peace or that stillness or spaciousness inside of that moment, kind of like being in the eye of the tornado.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like the first phase of finding your strength again, finding yourself again,
Yeah.
right? I love the analogy
Yeah.
of a buffet. Like life is this buffet. There's every choice you can imagine of flavors and tastes and types of foods, and you are in choice.
Yeah. I love
Like,
that.
yes, it all exists, the good, the bad, the, whatever we want to label. And, but if we can just observe and go, okay, well, what appeals to me to focus on? What's going to like nourish me? What's going to
Mm-hmm.
open and expand my body to relax a bit more? Because you're no good for anybody if you're tense and upset and,
Yes.
pissed off at the world or your body. Like
No,
that's, I'm sorry, but it will never serve you to
it
have
doesn't.
that approach.
Yeah.
Yes, of
But
course,
then this
you're
is
human.
too.
You'll have
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. This
I
is
get
where I
it.
want to bring it back to relationships too, because
Yes.
if we can internally, right, find that place of, I'm not going to say it's always peaceful, but maybe it's more still, or eventually it's more peaceful. Then when we communicate in our relationships and when we actually speak up and ask for what we want instead of complaining or bitching or nagging, right? Then that relationship gets to be more supportive and you get to feel more loved and more connected. And so oftentimes I work with women to start to even imagine, like, if I could have it any way, this is what my partner would be doing, or this is the time or space I would have. So this is side by side to the, how do we find the spaciousness internally, and also how do we, instead of feeling in our relationships like, I guess this is all I get, I'm just going to settle for what this is, how do we actually see the people around us as access to a little more space in the moment, or a little more freedom in the moment? That for me is a big edge, and it's one that feels challenging, and for most women I work with is challenging to get the words out of our mouths and ask for what we want or need.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And if we don't prioritize that practice of breathing, spaciousness, just being in that stillness,
Yeah.
you're going to feel overridden. Like you're going to feel that you don't have access to making good choices in what
Yeah.
you say to your partner
Yeah.
or in what you put in your mouth. And it's right.
Yeah.
So that spaciousness, that letting it be in any moment, a breath, a choice, creates that pattern interrupt and creates that ability to make a more conscious choice.
Yeah.
And from there, then you can actually be in a better place to discern what, what medication, what supplement, what food eating, style resonates with me. Because
Yes.
this is the thing. I think I still want to bring in eventually as we unfold our conversations together and like continued making these, having these moments together, things that we found work for us, things
Yeah.
that we actually have, vetted as
Yep.
tools and resources that are helpful. But I think before we even get to that, I
This
want to bring the
foundation.
back to you
Yeah.
to discern, like, okay, Sarah said that's been helpful for her, but let me feel how it
Let
actually
me
feels
feel
for
for myself.
me. Make that choice, because I do not believe there's a blanket thing. I think there's foundation
Yeah. But there's
principles
not
that
one right way for each person.
absolutely. And sometimes we actually do need to try different ways that don't work
Yep.
because of our own unique design. So I look at people's human design as well. If you're not familiar with that, it's just a blueprint for how we can discern to use our own energy and relate to others. And so human design, I have found, has been very helpful in trusting that everyone has their own process.
Yeah.
And it's okay if the process doesn't follow these exact steps that I know might get someone to where they say they want to go,
Yep.
but they need to have that roundabout journey because of the experience of richness
Yeah.
of getting there. Does that make sense?
It does. It
Like,
does. And it makes so much sense to me, A, that we are all unique and that we've been trained usually out of trusting ourselves. And so, how do we bring that back into our internal experience? And the other thought that just came up relationally is that there's a kind of relational presence that happens. I think of it as a partnership can be like a relational meditation, where there are times when I'm aware of something in my partner before he's aware of it, or he's aware of something before I am, if we can actually stay, um, you know, with some degree, like you said, of that witnessing or that spaciousness. And if we're curious about each other rather than going right for the judgment or going right for one of us has to be right here and one of us has to be wrong here. And so
can
again,
you give an example of that? I'm curious, like, how does that play
yeah.
out for you?
Okay. So my partner's about to move in with me. And the other night he slept over and we woke up in the morning and I was feeling grumpy because he'd woken up a couple times to go to the bathroom and he was snoring and I sleep is like incredibly sacred to me. And so we're trying to work out this without either one of us being right or wrong. Am I going to sleep in the same bed with him every night? What do I actually need? How does he work with his own process of feeling rejected or like there's something wrong with him? And, we noticed in the morning, we meditated together. And then we both noticed that we were about to go paddleboard, kayak. We were going to go out in the water, but we were like, this is feeling tense. Like we don't have to have a whole big process, but we should address this. And so he was able to self reflect on how, he started feeling like he was wrong or there was something wrong with him. And I was going to leave him or I was going to kick him out to, rent my studio instead of living together. And I was feeling more like just trying to recognize that in this perimenopause, menopause phase, I don't want to betray myself like I have in the past and think, well, if we are in a relationship, it needs to look like this. We need to sleep together every night. We need to share a bedroom, like all these things that are outlined in the culture of relationships, that's just what we follow, as opposed to what you're saying, which is, okay, how do I witness myself? I can create some of my own spaciousness, but I also know if I don't sleep well, that's going to be a lot harder for me. So I'm going to prioritize what do I actually need to get good rest? And is it having another place that I can go sleep or like the willingness to together witness as opposed to coming at each other with blame or shame or accusation is a really important part of the relational aspect of it.
Yeah. It sounds like you guys have the agreement that has to be made first and foremost that we're on the same team.
Yes.
Whatever comes up
Yep.
isn't to clash and be in a battle, but it's to figure out, oh, how do we work this? Because we're on the same team, right? It's
Exactly.
like those, yeah. I think looking outside the box of our relationships, like not putting it into a norm of what we think it should look like.
Yep.
It's when you start questioning, let everything be up for
Question.
reevaluation for what
Yeah.
works for you. It's like there's a freedom in that. There's such freedom.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I completely understand and agree with what you're saying, how we need to
Yeah.
allow for that nuance with
Yeah.
And when you're going through this phase, I think we have less tolerance than we used to for what didn't
Yeah.
work for us, for what
Yeah.
works
And
for us.
it's like a master class of how do we continue to remain the witness as there's fire raging through us and sadness and grief and all of these
Literally,
things.
yeah. Yeah. Oh,
So we have so much more to talk about, but for now, for today, does that feel like we've
yeah.
covered what you want to?
Yeah. Yeah. Let's wrap this here and love any feedback. Anyone who's watching this and made it this far, thank you for just going on this ride with us. And if there's anything you want us to specifically talk about, please leave a comment.
Yeah.
Or if there's anything that you pulled from this and want to share your insights from too, like let's have this be a conversation.
Yes. Great. And let's tell them where they can find us if they want more.
Sure. Yeah. If you want to look into your symptoms and what's going on with your body, I'm a wellness consultant and intuitive healer, and I offer an assessment. So I'll leave a link to the assessment and you can see if that's something you want to experience.
Great. And for me, I have a quiz on what's keeping you from having the best love and sex of your life. So I'll put the link there and also available for a quick chat or consultation if you have questions. So I'll put a link for that as well.
Thank you, Shana. It's
Yeah,
wonderful
thank
to connect
you.
with you in this.
You
I
too.
appreciate you.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for listening.